Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Jim Moyer. I'd like to call to order the May 2nd, 2024 COE Human Relations Commission meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me in pledging allegiance? Then we're going to ask former Commissioner Aegis Hart, Pastor Aegis Hart, to prayer for National Day of Prayer, and then a quick moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to come together to grow and from this system. Lord, I pray that you will bless each and every member of this board who share the vision that we have in this city of a unified and better and brighter Oklahoma. Thank you for our guest speaker, Lord. We thank you for the knowledge and wisdom that she will pour into us. We pray that we will receive it and may it bear fruit. So carefully give you the praise, the honor, the glory, and thank you for allowing us to be living in this beautiful place that we call Court. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you all. And now we're going to be seated, please. Thank you. Now we're going to have Angel roll call. And when they call the board member's name, will you please stand up so everybody knows who you are? Thank you.
Member Maxwell.
Present.
Member Cummings. Member Cease. Member Moyer.
Here.
Member Mellon.
Here.
Member Beck.
Here.
And now I have the honor of introducing Ms. Kavita Saul. Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. Member Mellon is going to read the general mission of the COE Human Relations Diversity Board.
The general mission of the Human Relations Diversity Board, HRDB for short, is to promote understanding, respect, goodwill, and equality among all citizens and businesses of the city of Etobicoke.
Thank you, Member Mellon. And now I have the honor of introducing Ms. Kavita Saul from UCF Ginsburg Center for Inclusion and Community Engagement. Thank you for being here.
Ooh, I'm a little bit shorter than you. Here we go. I'm gonna struggle, just to let you know, with the microphone thing. I'm a move around kind of person, so I'm gonna try. Good evening. My name is Kavita Sao, and I'm a training specialist in the Ginsburg Center for Inclusion and Community Engagement, the Office of Learning and Organizational Development. I've been at UCF for a really long time. Most of my time I spent in counseling, and you'll get a little nod to that. I have an undergraduate degree from UCF and a master's degree from Louisiana State University. So I'm a knight, but I have a little bit of tiger blood in me. I'm gonna have my co-presenter introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
I'm a little taller than her. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Edwana Andrews, and I am excited to be here with you. I've read through your diversity series, and so I am very interested and very happy that you all invited us to be a part of your organization, the whole development of your series, and be a part of the conversation. Love it. I am a 3-time graduate from the University of Central Florida. The first one I paid for, the last 2 they paid for, and so I was grateful for that. And I serve as the Assistant Vice President for the Ginsburg Center for Inclusion and Community Engagement, and we do a lot. We have, of course, the Learning and Organization Development Department, and then we also have our student success areas, we have civic engagement, we have our student government funded areas, and so we do a lot as far as impacting the campus community and making sure our students have a sense of belonging. And so we are so excited to be able to share with you our conversation about fostering a sense of belonging, and hopefully you're ready to engage and share and talk and discuss, because we're going to do a little bit of that tonight.
All right, thank you, Dr. Andrews. Before I get started, I have a little note that I read at all of my trainings. It's just standard for us. Please note that the concepts in this session are presented to deepen your understanding and/or improve skills. No one should feel compelled to believe any idea simply because it is presented in this training. We encourage you to assess the value of the concepts and critically think how they apply or do not apply to your own experiences. Any questions on that? All right. Thank you. All of our trainings, we begin with our expectations and responsibilities. Some people may know it as ground rules. We want to be respectful, ask honest and open questions, allow space, listen, don't debate, correct, or interpret. Keep an open mind. We are all here to learn. Suspend judgment. Agree to disagree, but we ask that you please don't disconnect. Speak your truth, so use I when you're talking, and probably one of the most important ones is to maintain confidentiality. Remember what is said and shared in here in terms of stories and experiences belong to the people who shared it. If it is not your story, it's not your content to take out of here. How's that sound? I see some head nods. All right. In this training, we'll go over, we'll explore the intersections of diversity. We'll explore how distinct perspectives and experiences benefits the community. And then we'll learn strategies that foster a sense of belonging. However, before we do that, we like to do what we call community exploration. At UCF, when we do it with the students, it's a little similar. We call it Night Quest, but for our community, we call it community exploration. Dr. Andrews and I will hand out some sheets of paper to you. There are 15 items on this sheet. I want you to look through all 15 of them. Find one that you're like, okay, this is me. And put either your initials or your name, whatever you want next to it. Then I want you to get up, walk around, and start talking to the other people in this room and find out which one of these they can assist in filling out for you. So there are 15 items on here. Number 12, I feel like, is a cheat one because I saw a guy with an army hat earlier. So, yep. So we know that we have that, so I helped you with number 12. Yeah, Dr. Andrews has pens if you need it. Hopefully we have enough. Absolutely. Yeah, sure. So you're going to read through the 15 items that are on this list. I want you to find one item that you're like, okay, I can, this is me, I can sign this one. So for me, and I'll participate, I'm no longer an Ocoee resident, but I did go to Valencia while I lived in Ocoee, and then I moved to the other side because, you know, UCF is a little ways away from here. So I will participate as a former Ocoee resident in this. So for number 1, I was born outside the US. I'm happy to sign that one for anybody. But I want you to talk to people. Find out as much as you can off of this. So one that you are like, okay, this is me, put your name, and then start talking to others around to see which others you can get signed. Yeah. Yep, you only put your name on one.
And so this is where you get to get up and move around and talk with some people. It seems like some of you already know each other a little.
It's a good way to get to know the people we don't know.
Deepen your understanding.
There you go. Bill, how many siblings you got? Zero trouble.
K-A-D-I-T. I was born in Georgia.
How many times did you go?
Let's do it. I only got one.
Okay, I love that we're all talking to each other. I'm going to give you another minute to try and fill it out, and then we'll get going. All right, if you want to start making your way back to your seats.
That was not long enough.
I know. Oh, so I can stand in front. All right. If you want to go ahead and have a seat. Don't worry, we'll go through it. We'll find out who filled out what. Question, did anybody get all of it filled out?
I missed one.
Oh, I got one that missed one. That's absolutely awesome. All right. Who here was born outside the U.S.? I did share that I was born outside the U.S. Where? Do you want to share where you were born?
Yes, Haiti.
Haiti, okay. Caribbean brother right there. I was born in Trinidad. Anybody here has more than 5 siblings?
Oh, that's what I was missing.
Ooh, look at that. You got it all filled out now.
Who's a vegan?
Who's a vegetarian? It's vegetarian or vegan. Oh. We'll skip over to number 3 one, 10 years older or younger. That one, let me tell you, I work on a college campus. Need I say more? Okay. When I walk into a room, I 100% know that I am at least 10 years older than them. That question used to say 20 years, and my heart couldn't handle it. I changed it to 10. Lives or lived in a multi-generational household. Do we know what a multi-generational household is? Okay. Anybody? No?
Something like father and son, or?
Technically, we'll take it. Okay. Communicates in more than one language. Do you want to share what language? What do you want to share? What language?
English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian.
Ooh,
Learning Italian.
awesome. We talked about the vegetarian or the vegan. Apparently, doesn't exist in Ocoee. Actually, that's not in this room. That's not true. My uncle and aunt live right off of McGuire, and they're both vegetarians, and we enjoy going to their house. Had a car in high school. Ooh, there's quite a few people. Cooks more than 3 times a week. There's a lot of hands that go up for this one. Has attended a celebration of a different religious belief. Do we want to share what we've attended? Anybody?
I've been to every church known to man at one point in time. I was raised Catholic, had friends that were Mormons in the church.
Okay.
I got dragged in somehow. I was witness church one time. We've been to the Buddhist temple a few times. I've had a massive blessing.
Oh, that's cool.
So, kind of go everywhere.
I've been to Hindi before.
One of my high school teachers was a spiritualist minister out of Casadega. So
You just got it going.
when I took comparative religion at FSU, we had to go visit a religious ceremony other than our own, and that was thought it'd be interesting. So
That's cool.
That's the city that closes down for Halloween, right?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Earlier years of the HRDB, we were affiliating ourselves with the Muslim community that's here amongst us. So why can
Yeah, I had the pleasure of going to mosque a few weeks ago for Ramadan. They were breaking fast, so we went to they have something called an interfaith iftar, and it is amazing. They do such a good job with it, and then the food, let me tell you. That's a whole different story. Shared a meal with someone of a different sexual orientation in the last month. Okay. Grew up with a single parent. Let's see our military people. All right, do we want to share? I know there's an Army guy back there.
Marine Corps.
Marine,
Not me, my dad was Vietnam vet.
Vietnam vet.
Traveled with my husband in the military.
Listen, that is our director of military and veteran and military student success will tell you, you are definitely part of the military because you do more for your family. Yeah. What branch of the military, I'm sorry? Army. Yeah, he would also go woohoo when he hears that. Has multiple tattoos. Do we know how many? Enough. You say that now. Not enough. 3. Has traveled internationally. My military people.
Royal Caribbean.
Royal Caribbean, yes. Well, what? There's a story you all need to find out about. Owns their own home. I mean, I like to say that I own it, but the bank does. Technically, we just pay them every month, but you know what I mean. So, we will come back to the real reason we just did this. Yes, it is to kind of get to know your neighbors, but we have, a hidden meaning behind doing this. However, I will have Dr. Andrews take over for a little bit, and then I'll be back.
All right, so thank you all so much for participating. Understand everything that we do is intentional and it's part of the whole conversation. And so the definitions that you see here are some foundational definitions to provide understanding for our conversation tonight, discussing fostering a sense of belonging and how do you do that as a community. Looking outside with all the food trucks and the tent, looks like you have a lot of these elements under control and are highly promoting them. And our conversation tonight is to be able to look at things a little differently to see how you can foster even more belonging. Taking what you already do and having you look a little differently about how you can even do greater and better things for the city of Ocoee. So the first definition we're going to get into, of course, is diversity. And so we have the Britannica dictionary definition. And so I'm not going to read it for you, but what I'm going to share with you is how do you put diversity in action? And so you put diversity in action because it's a practice of involving people. So just like we did the activity, we could have just had you sit there and Kavita could have read off each of the elements, each of the descriptors, and you could have raised your hand, yes or no. But what we did was we said, you need to be involved. You need to get to know people a little bit more. And so we had you physically go and talk to each other and say, hey, what's on my sheet can you sign? And here's what I can sign on your sheet. So it's a process of involving people. And understanding that diversity, it ranges in varied backgrounds. And the 15 items that were listed on the sheet gives you just a small glimpse of the true diversity that's here in the room. One thing we did find out is that no one is vegetarian or vegan. And so that lets us know, well, maybe that might be a characteristic we don't put on the sheet next time. So not only did we discover it's not here for you, but it also helped us to say, maybe next time we won't have that on the list. And so you're able to see the different dimensions of diversity in the room. Next, we have inclusion. And so inclusion, of course, is the act of including, the state of being included. But what inclusion really is it's diversity in action, because what it does is it brings individuals from varied backgrounds, from perspectives, from experiences to the table. It brings them to events. And what it does is it makes sure when you're really centered and you're really focused on inclusion, you're making sure that those individuals who are at the table are able to speak. So when there's a conversation and someone is quiet, you're able to say, hey, so-and-so, hey, Mayor Rusty, you seem quiet at the table. Is there something that you want to add from your vantage point, from your viewpoint? So you have these diverse individuals with varied background and perspective at the table, but inclusion is making sure that you provide space at the table and in the conversation for them to talk, for their voice to be heard and for their voice to be recognized. And so it also is with events. When you're putting on events, you want to make sure when it comes to the space that you're utilizing, is it a space that is opening and welcome to everyone? So for example, think about the extravaganza that you all do for Easter. Is the space open and welcoming for all of the kids to come and participate? I know you all, when I was looking at pictures, it looked like you had like a smaller area for like the smaller kids, and then an area for the older kids. So that's inclusion. It's making sure that the babies don't get run over by the larger kids who are after the eggs. And so that's something that you're already doing. And so when we're looking at really fostering that sense of belonging, we're going to come back to that particular event, and we're going to talk about how you can do just a couple of things extra to make sure that everyone has access to that event. And now we talk about belonging. Belonging in action means you value uniqueness and you want to make sure everyone knows that they are a valued member. And that helps to increase your community engagement, your attendance at events, and so forth. Belonging is having actuators at the door that actually open the door. By law, you're required to make sure the building is accessible by having a ramp, but you're not necessarily by law required to have the actuator. And so having the actuator goes above making sure that people are able to enter the building, but you want to make sure that people don't have the strength to open the door, that they're able to press the button and easily get inside the building. So that's part of fostering that sense of belonging. With equality is looking at sameness. It's looking at making sure everyone has the equal status. So you have events and you make sure everyone has access to the events. Everyone can come to the events. It's open for everyone. It's not closed off. And so equality in action looks like celebrating the various cultural months that you already celebrate. Now, when you get to equity is a little different. And so I want to take this from the perspective of education, give you this example. Education is supposed to be the equalizer for all of us, right? Especially K through 12. Well, what happens in a classroom, in an elementary school classroom, let's say 3rd grade, all the students are learning, but you have some students that are learning above grade level, you have some students that are learning on grade level, and then you have some students that are learning below grade level. Well, the ones that are learning below grade level, they need extra support. They need extra academic support. They need tutoring. They need maybe one-on-one conversations, one-on-one support. So the equity piece is you provide that student that's struggling, that's at the learning at below grade level, you provide them with assistance that they need in order to get to at grade level. And so that's equity. Equity is being able to provide individuals with the extra that they need based on what they need in order to get at the equal playing field. And so education is one that is really an eye-opener, because when you look at students who are below grade level, and we've seen a lot of reports that have come out and statistics. I mean, one just came out yesterday about students are still behind in math and science due to COVID. And so schools are doing what they need to do. They're providing them with that extra support. They're utilizing extra funds to provide them with additional learning materials and accessories and so forth. And so that's really that equity piece. Not everyone may need it, but those who do need it having access to it and being able to utilize it in order for them to be successful. And so we're going to do a deeper dive about the intersections of diversity, creating inclusion, and fostering a sense of belonging.
I really feel short when I stand next to her. All right, so when you think about diversity, or when you hear about diversity, people typically think about race, religion, ethnicity, age, gender. Sometimes culture or language will come up. Ability may or may not show up. Sexuality, education. Those are a few things that may come up. But diversity is so much more than just those things. It's a matter of pretty much just existing. So, we have a list of items that, let's kind of expand on the slide before of what diversity really is. If you look through my list, you'll notice that there are letters missing, that I don't have anything for it. I'm going to ask you to help me put something in there for those. So when you look at abilities, active military, adopted, age, art enthusiast, there's that. But there's nothing for B. What do you think? Think of a word that you think is related to diversity starts with the letter B? Behavioral? Biracial?
Wouldn't these just be breakdowns of what you shared? A lot of these are cultural. Cultural is just like race. Like, my example, art enthusiasts would be under the cultural, subset.
I mean, but they're also connected to one's identity. And so that's one of the things about diversity is it's connected to one's identity. So like for me, I have an identity as a divorcee. I have an identity as someone who has traveled internationally or lived internationally. I have identity as a middle child and an only girl in a family of boys. So it's really looking at it from the perspective of these are all of the identities that we bring. And our identities, like in this room alone, yes, visually we're diverse, but also when we did the exercise, we're even more diverse than what we visually can see outside.
Is it ready to go
I
right
think
now?
you can hear it out there.
Does that,
It does. I mean, so that's like, you have culture.
Yes.
So that's a whole nother little subset.
Yes.
So that would still fall under this. It's still like a root. You have like the ball, and then you have like the little roots that come.
I'm sorry.
oh, thank you. Whew. Y'all don't know what he just did. Clearly I have a problem. I can't stand still, I don't know why. Part of my identity right there. When I have to do an online workshop, I struggle. My friend in the back is gonna see that in a couple of weeks.
But I mean, also too, you just brought up something where you acknowledge that you're deaf. And so one of the things that we do is when we facilitate workshops or we have conferences, we always tell people use the microphones. People don't like to use the microphones, but we tell people there are individuals who struggle to hear or may not be able to hear. I know my left ear, if you speak to me in it, I can't hear you. And so it's important for me if I'm sitting in a conference that I need someone to speak into the microphone. They're projecting their voice is not going to help me because I'm turning here, trying to hear, and I can't. So that's a dimension of diversity.
That would fall under equity, right? Because you need to make some adjustments to bring them up to level playing field.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. You get an extra pen.
Did you have a question?
April was autistic, so I don't see autistic there. And personally, I wonder about for-profit, non-profit.
Okay.
Are we our work? That's my question.
Oh.
Are we who we work for?
Some people are.
But-
That organizational identity, people, I mean, coming from a teaching background, right? Teachers define themselves by being teachers, nurses, doctors, et cetera, and doing charity work with for-profit or not-for-profit organizations. There's a lot of people that do define themselves by their role in those types of organizations.
Maybe I asked the wrong question. Should we? These
Well,
are the questions.
That's a personal question.
Yeah.
That's a personal question because there are some individuals where that's innate in them. I am an educator. That's my thing. And so I define myself as an educator. You ask me a question, I'm going to probably show you how to get the answer so that you will be able to get the answer later. But I'm an educator. I don't go outside saying I'm an educator, but that's just innate in who I am and how I do things. My son loves it.
And culturally, some people, it's just the way you were raised. So I grew up in a family where my parents had their own business, and we were literally in that business from the time we could walk. So are we part of it?
Then you become a retiree.
And you regret
You
all
are
of those
retired.
days.
reflection of what
Yes.
you were.
Yes.
Whether it's for-profit, non-profit, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that even speaks to the point of how our identity evolves, just like we move from adolescent to preteen, teenager, and adulthood and so forth. It's the same thing, how our identities evolve.
Yep. Yeah.
You threw in a pretty interesting term there when you went culturally, and I'm wondering if you would inculcate within that the concept of unconscious bias and how that plays culturally.
Yeah, we can definitely talk a little bit about that. So, is everyone aware of what unconscious bias is? Okay, so our subconscious, it's the way we were raised. It's the things that are ingrained in us. It's the media that we watch. It's the social media that we're part of. It's the communities that we're part of. Our friends, our families, our schools. All of that plays a part in our bias. How many people here have served on a jury? Or and what is the question the judge asks you when you get ready to, whether they accept you or not? Can you be fair and impartial to this person? And then you have to put your bias aside, at least try to, because it is there all the time. Every single one of us have bias, regardless of who we are, and it will always exist. It's remembering and bringing that to the forefront of our memory and reminding ourselves and finding ways to not think of, so the person on trial is, I think we died. So the person who's on trial is there for murder, and you know in your mind that you can't do it. You can't sit on that jury. What do you do? Tell the judge, peace out, I'm sorry. But, thank you.
Correct.
Yes. Yes. And depending on what it is, I'll be honest, I want to sit on a jury so badly. I honestly do. But there are certain things I know I cannot do, and I refuse to do it. Because my bias will not allow me to. I can say that I will try, but I know my bias won't allow me to.
Yeah, and so when you, on the flip side of unconscious bias, we talk about being culturally conscious. There's culturally competent, and then there's culturally conscious. Being culturally conscious will help to lessen your unconscious bias, because unconscious bias can show up in various ways. It can show up in someone making a comment, a microaggression comment of like, oh my gosh, you're so well spoken. And for me as a Black woman, someone says that to me, it's like, it's offensive, and then it's like, well, are Black women not well spoken, or has that not been your experience and stuff? So it's really about the cultural consciousness. And so when we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about belonging. In a sense, we're also talking about that cultural consciousness, so that you can understand when there's maybe voices or people missing at the table, or maybe when there's some additional enhancements you can make for some of your community events that will allow more individuals to enjoy them.
So the question is, microaggression, a well-known term. I'm curious.
Do we know what microaggressions are? I see a head nod.
No.
So I'm bilingual, so sometimes I'm like, I kind of figure it out, but I'm not sure. So that's one of those that I feel like you're doing something, but you're hiding what you're doing underneath the facade.
So microaggressions can be a slight. So it falls with the unconscious bias because it's well-intentioned, but it's a slight. So someone could be like, wow, You speak 5 languages? That's amazing. Of course, I know you speak Spanish, but you also speak English so well. Yes. So you may be.
Okay.
Yes. And so it's introduced as a compliment, but then you're like,
Okay, got it.
it's a slight.
Minutes later, you're like,
Yes. And sometimes people don't pepper it that nicely, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever done in malice. I think sometimes it could be, but I think it's just
I
you know,
agree with that.
have a lot
Like, it's like-
of minors, I'm deaf. People, oh, he's deaf. Man, that's terrible. They go to speak louder. It's like, wait, I can hear you just fine. But
Right.
They don't mean to. They don't mean ill will by it.
right. And so that's why it's an unconscious bias, because it's not like they're not consciously doing it. Now, consciously doing it is for you to tell them you're deaf, and they turn their back to you and start having the whole conversation and completely ignore you. That's conscious.
Did you want to say something?
I was just going to comment on Jason's comment. Sometimes those type of statements are introduced as a vital class, a distinguishing characteristic that I'm more adept than you are. You know, it's thrown out complimentary, but it has a totally different undertone.
Great.
So I want to be mindful of your time.
Great conversation.
So yes, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about how we create inclusion at work, in your community, and in social settings. I have a few items up there, and then we'll talk through some stuff that you all can add. Do you listen, like really listen when somebody is talking to you when you're having a conversation? Or are you listening while you're trying to formulate that response in your mind? You're like, oh, yeah, this is how I'm going to respond to you. One of the ways is to really listen to what they're saying. And it's okay to pause and say, I need a second before I can respond to that. And then think up your response. But knowing that you were listening to them when they were talking. Use inclusive language. What does that mean? It means a lot of things. Yes, using pronouns. Where somebody walks in and they say, hi, my name is, and these are my pronouns. Absolutely. But it also means using the person's correct name. Like, I will use myself as an example. My name is Kavita. I can't tell you how many versions of that I have heard over the course of my American life. When I moved to the US a really long time ago, when I started college, that's when they were still doing roll call. So I knew when the professors got to my name because it was very different and he would struggle. So I got to the point where I said, just call me Shelly. So for a lot of years, I still have college friends that thinks that my name is Shelly. For a lot of years, that's the name I used. And then my mom pointed out that I was making myself uncomfortable to make other people comfortable. So one of the easiest ways to make somebody comfortable is by saying their name and saying it correctly. I'm okay with, if you ask me, how do you say your name 20 times? I will tell you. I will spell it out for you and I will tell you.
And other ways of inclusive language, which we've been socialized to do a lot of times when we're in group settings, we'll be like, all right, guys, settle down. But it's a group that's not just males. And so ways to do that is be like, okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Or team, let's do this. Let's go out and kick some butt or what have you, instead of saying guys. And for me, I grew up in the South and I have a habit of saying y'all. And so even y'all could be, some people, from the North, they're like, who is y'all?
Y'all.
So, even for me, I'm like, okay, I use everyone. I use team.
I use y'all a lot, and I credit my LSU people for that because they use y'all a lot there, and it's Y''ALL, it's spelled that way.
Out of curiosity, how about words, like basic words, like 5th grade and down? Would that be under inclusion, or would that be?
Meaning the level, okay.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So remembering who your audience is, and they often say you want to talk at a 5th grade level and below. Does that mean you all? No. You can talk at the level that you're accustomed to talking and just clarify if things need to be clarified. We work at a institution of higher education, and talking at a 5th grade level, it'd be like, how'd you end up here?
Yes.
So just knowing who your audience is where you'll look at it. Engage in respectful conversation, kind of like what we're doing right now. Not me standing up here telling you what to do, I'm just saying. No, but having that respectful conversation with the people in your neighborhood, with the people around you. Sometimes there are certain conversations that get heated, and we may need to set maybe a ground rule or two around it. Just maybe let's stay away from these things just so it does not get heated. But you don't want to disconnect. You want to listen. You are, again, agree to disagree, but do not disconnect.
Yeah. And sometimes when you get in those conversations, because sometimes they start out very cordial and then all of a sudden it takes a turn. And so a way to get out of that or to be able to move on is to say, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. We're certainly not trying to change each other, so let's just agree to disagree and move on. And then you walk out. Okay. All right.
And obviously, these are situational, depending on where you are, who you're with. It changes. So, anything you can think of.
Create a comfortable environment where people are comfortable being themselves versus being what other people think they should be. I always feel like, the greatest asset you have is you.
Yes.
So I think that's one thing I noticed when I finished my term as commissioner. I met a lady who just moved from Honduras, and she had moved from a very bad situation with voting and living experience. She was telling her story, how she was trying to fit in here. I told her, just be yourself. And she was very excited about voting, trying to teach her kids that. So that's one reason why I'm here, to try to find a way to make people who just come here, even though you may be from Honduras, of course, home now.
Yes. Yes. You wanted to share something?
Oh,
okay.
Thank you.
Other ways to foster inclusion is to attend events that you typically wouldn't attend, because it gives you an opportunity to meet new individuals. It also may give you an opportunity to try new foods, and it gives you visibility among folks who have not seen you, and it shows to them, hey, I think this person might be cool, and maybe I can talk to them about some things happening in the city that I would like to see changed, or, how can I help the city be better? All right, community and belonging. Some of these pictures may look familiar. You all have an amazing photo gallery.
Right off the website.
Right. And so fostering community and belonging, you all are doing a great job. You're doing a great job. You're doing the thing. You have a variety of various events. You celebrate your cultural months. You also celebrate Veterans Day and have, make sure your veterans are acknowledged and included. You all are doing the thing. You have a wellness park that's free that everyone can utilize. So if you don't have a gym membership, you can go to the park, walk around, and be able to also use the equipment, the strength training equipment. And so you all are doing things. And so let's talk about what are some extra things that you can do to foster belonging. And so let's take, for example, the extravaganza. You already have a space for the little ones to do their egg hunt, and then you have the space for the older kids to go crazy and fall all over themselves and do their egg hunt. Thinking about our conversation, going back to the different identities of diversity that we had listed, what are some potential other elements you could add that would foster even more sense of belonging in the Ocoee community for this particular event? Yes. Yes, include the seniors. They would love to sit there and see the kids go crazy and the babies and everything. And it could be helpful for parents who have multiple kids. They may have a young kid who's over in this area and an older kid over in that area, so to be able to be a watchful eye.
Maybe add like quiet zone section.
Yes.
Yes,
exactly. Because you already celebrate Autism Awareness Month, right? And so what about having, maybe it's the day before or the day after or whatever, having an egg hunt for those who may be neurodivergent? And it's not as stimulating as an egg hunt would be or overwhelming as an egg hunt can be. And that could be very beneficial for parents who have multiple kids. It could be very beneficial for a parent who is home and they have a child that has some level of neurodivergence that they can't come out. And that helps them to feel connected to the community and help them feel like, wow, the city of Ocoee sees me and sees my family. What's something else? Yes.
It's about the dogs that you can pet.
Oh, therapy dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yep, therapy dogs.
I know a few of them from my counseling days.
Multiple languages for your promotional materials?
Absolutely. I was talking to our boss actually this morning, and I was showing her this picture, and she shared a story of a father who had a daughter who was blind, and so she could not participate in the egg hunts because it was all about you being able to see them. And so what he did was he created his own egg hunt for his daughter, where when she touched her cane with the eggs, it made a sound, and so she could pick it up. And so while that was, like a beautiful thing for his daughter, it meant the world to be able to give his daughters the same opportunity as other kids. And so those are small things. I mean, you can also, what about in the kids who have physical disabilities? The grass could be a barrier, especially if you're in a wheelchair. So just thinking about those other things, yes, it may take a little bit more time. It may mean you have to do something extra. But if it's an opportunity for you to provide at least one event that fosters that sense of belonging for individuals with disability, it will mean the world to them.
And their families.
Mm-hmm. Moving on. Absolutely.
Yep.
I want them to feel, as a parent, you did something for my kid, I'll never forget it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why, just think about, your healthcare providers and your dentists and where you like to eat. I'm one that I will travel in order to get good food. And so I had the pleasure of being here in Ocoee this past weekend, and I was over at Grill Masters. And, if they're open afterwards, I may be there again.
That's why she signed up to come with me.
Yes, yes. And I live in Sanford, and my dentist is in Ocoee. And so like you said, it's about how people make you feel. If you make them feel good, you make them feel valued, you make them feel appreciated and respected, regardless of how far they have to travel, how uncomfortable the drive or the walk may be, they're gonna show up. They're gonna show up. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
The flavors of Jamaica.
Okay. I'm a foodie. Back in the day, well, I'm being recorded. Move on. Okay.
All right, let's talk a little bit about, let's have a little discussion. Thinking about your personal and professional roles, whose sense of belonging could you impact? You said you were a teacher. Oh, used to be.
Yeah, I work in learning operations, so I deploy trainings.
Oh, wow.
For a company. So a lot of what we do is working with accessibility, making sure that we're following web design elements to make sure that people with hearing or vision impairment are able to equally access learning content.
Cool. Anybody else want to share? Whose sense of belonging are you or could you impact?
A few people know, I run one of the local Jeep clubs around here.
Oh.
Pretty much one of the few in Florida that's totally open to everybody, all walks of life, LGBT. We used to hear at Macaulay Taco last Tuesday, and I know the mayor and a few other people have been out there. And it's quite a sight for people driving by not knowing really what's going on because it's a little bit of everything. And then we even have a couple disabled kids. And their family have like this wheelchair horse in the back of their Jeep.
That's so cool.
Oh my gosh. It's pretty amazing. I don't know if they were out there when you went there.
Yeah, I'll feel it.
But it is pretty impactful and eventful.
I used to be a retail pharmacist. You don't realize how many people you touch until later on in life. I had technicians now who knew me when they were in high school, and I said something to them, think I said the right thing. It's a good feeling. And some lady even brought me a time when I first got the pharmacy license in '91. There were very few blacks in pharmacy, and they were proud when they would come in and see me. One of the boys came and said, "Mom, two of them are back there now." They were amazed that there were two black men back there now. So you can touch a lot of people in that industry. Also as a ministry, touch a lot of people. But I've learned the value of making a good impression and not letting my bad day affect somebody else. Because one word can make or break, especially a young person.
Yes.
So we have a lot of responsibility.
So, hi, my name is Jonathan. I'm a senior lending officer with Orlando Credit Union. And honestly, everybody from November down to the employees, you know what I mean? So like, I'm part of the data committee. And last month was Air Awareness Month. And that was all about that. But we have a young lady that she's from Arab descent. And the fact that when I was doing the research in order to get to know her culture, and I would go to her, hey, I didn't know this. Oh my gosh, look at this. Oh my, she felt like so connected at that point that I saw a light come out of her that I'd never seen before. You know, and I've had members that walk in that I would help even with their credit score. Like they went to a couple different institutions, they weren't getting credit cards. I set them down, I explained how to get a credit card. From there we went into, I want to buy a house. 2 years later, we were buying them a house for their and their 3 kids. So just the fact that, just opening up and getting to know them and just caring.
Yeah.
Just at the end of the day, it's what makes a difference.
Right. Valuing their presence.
Did you have something to share?
I worked for the Salvation Army Adult Rehab Centers. I did for 23 years.
Wow.
So even though I was their accountant, people that had very, very similar experiences with addiction, virtually all of them felt like they were in a boat by themselves. So the very first thing we try to instill on them is you're not by yourself.
Yes.
So
Thank you. All right. I know we are past our time. So how do we create a sense of belonging? We can't create a sense of belonging if we don't know ourselves. We need to know who we are before we can create that sense of belonging. How do I know what I like? A self-reflection. Sit down and think about who you are. Think about when somebody asks you, what's for dinner? What is one of the answers that you give? Whatever you want, or that's the answer you should give. However, it's the I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's the I don't know. If I don't know what I want to eat, how do I know who I am? I always know what I want to eat, I'm just saying. You want to seek out people and places that make you feel connected. This right here, this is not something, I live in Oviedo, the other O place. And I do not feel what I feel right here, right now. I have been to 2 city council meetings, and one of them, just because, and the second one because I wanted to, and I did not feel any of this. It was very segregated, it was very not belonging. So this right here is amazing. Build meaningful relationships. People are comfortable telling you what they're comfortable telling you. If you genuinely want to know who someone is and not what they are, they know it, and they are happy sharing. If you ask me who I am, if you want to really know who I am and not what I am, I'm happy to share. Cultural competence. Dr. Andrews talked a little bit about that earlier. Cultural awareness, cultural competence, knowing what's out there, and y'all do a really good job of it. I'm jealous. I would like to move back if UCF was on this side of town. And then y'all are doing it right now. Bring others in. When you feel that sense of comfort, you want other people to feel that. So when you're comfortable somewhere, help somebody else who may be struggling to fit in, help them find their comfort.
Absolutely.
Dr. Andrews?
Yes. And so we, first of all, want to say thank you and ask if you have any questions, any comments that you would like to make.
Any concerns?
Yes, anything we mentioned and you're like, I need you to unpack that a little bit more. Or if you want to have private conversations, we can certainly do that. And I accept all food recommendations.
Me too.
There are food trucks down the public.
She saw that and she called me, and that's the first thing out of her mouth. Nothing about parking or there are food trucks here.
My question is, what is the probability of possibility of obtaining a copy of the presentation?
It's here. So I sent it to Doug earlier today. What I'll do is I'll clean up because our notes are part of it. So I'll clean up our notes and save it as a PDF and send it so it's easy to open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did invite all the, Doug and them invited all the other boards, and with the City of Ocoee stuff that's recorded as well.
Yes. We saw this posted on LinkedIn.
I know we want to do this next, what?
The next meeting as well, so in June, they'll be back with the next session as well.
That one's not up yet. It's just, so once, I'm guessing that one will start. Yeah, my cousin saw it on Facebook, and she was like, I'm coming. I was like, you sit down at home. Go to their other meetings, not the one that I'm at.
I would like to say it's one of the 48,000 plus that live in the city of McCoy, is very diverse culture. I thank you for coming. I thank you for giving us.
Thank you for having us.
You're doing some things right, and I thank you for the challenge to get better. I mean, old saying that the enemy of great is good, so we want to keep striving for greatness, and we thank you. And once again, you guys want to buy the West Up Mall. Thank you, seriously. Really appreciate it.
I will cry when they tear that down. That was my stomping ground back in the day.
That's not going to happen. Thank you for having us. And our goal was to do exactly what we did tonight, to have a conversation. Yes, we are sharing information, but we more wanted you all to have a conversation, to share your truth, to share your perspective, to share your love for the city of Ocoee. And so we thank you all for allowing us to be here and inviting us, and we look forward to coming back in June.
You did a great job.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Remember, we got to do